Hi everyone and welcome to my channel. I am Natasha of Fly Creations and today I am making a fun card featuring the July die set of the month, the fancy die set from Hero Arts, and it is a mixtape. This is so nostalgic, but I absolutely love it. And I am using colors from the card kit of the month, the road trip card kit. So the different colors are Sicily, Coral, Bellini, Waterfall, Teal Topaz, Blue Spruce, Beeswax, Saffron, Carrot, and Peridot. I used all of them in some way. I also have the white cardstock, and those are all ColorWheel cardstock colors, but I tried to incorporate all of them in some way. And since I wanted this to be a fun card with all of the colors, I did not try to match certain colors with certain tapes. I pretty much just die cut all of the pieces 3 to 4 times to ensure that I had enough to make mixtapes in the various colors. I did also die cut the sentiment, the hello that is included there. I die cut that out twice, and that is in the color, it's either Bellini or Coral. I always get them mixed up, but I die cut the sentiment twice. So I used Coral, if I'm not mistaken. And then I also die cut that out of white and did a bit of an offset when I did adhere those together. So here I'm just assembling all of my pieces. Again, I die cut the pieces out of all of the colors, so I have a nice little mix, and it is super simple to put together and even die cut. The piece for those bars that go across the center of the mixtape, that's pretty much like one cut, and it gives you all 3 different little stripes or bars there. So die cutting that once from a cardstock does give you 3 different pieces, which is nice. The most tedious thing I would say are the little pieces for the inside of the mixtape, like what the actual tape portion of the cassette wraps around in reality. Those little pieces, the little wheel, those pieces can be a bit tedious, and I ended up not die cutting them all out just because I like the look of the color of the mixtape showing through. I wanted those pops of color to just be throughout the card. But yeah, so I adhered those on with wet adhesive, and I did go back in and layer in the roll of cassette tape. So this piece that you see me fiddling with now, that is like what's supposed to look like the tape is inside of the cassette. And I did that for one cassette ahead of time, so I'm going to end up popping up that lime green cassette. And then for the others, I wanted to go ahead and place those onto my card front. So this is just an A2 card front, and I'm going to be gluing those into place and then trimming off any of the overhang and then using that to fill more of the space. So you really do not need a ton of these. You can get away with probably even using less than I did, but I wanted it to look like all the mixtapes just kind of fell onto the floor, and this is the pile that you have, and on the top it says hello. So I'm just adhering that into place, but once I do have these adhered, I go back in and I add in that missing center piece where it looks like the tape is wrapped. I wanted to focus on filling areas that would be visible, and I have all these little pieces left over if I want to make more tapes. So again, just adhering and then cutting off excess. I am putting them in different orientations, flipping them around, just trying to fill the space as best as I can. I love doing this with die cuts. Even with stamps, I do the same thing. I will fill a card front with stamps that go all over the place. to make sure that I'm getting use out of them. I also tried to keep a bit of white where I knew the sentiment would be so it wouldn't look too busy. And I wanted to make sure those colors underneath the sentiment would contrast well. I did have to play around with placement just to make sure I was putting things where I wanted them to be. Once I had that pretty much figured out, I went in and adhered those little pieces in the center. And I did make sure that the pieces were contrasting to the mixtapes themselves, just making sure I didn't use another color again. I did go in with foam tape and pop up my mixtape that goes into the center, so it did have a bit of lift. Was mindful to leave a bit of space where the ends of the hello would be underneath the mixtape. So just keep that in mind when you're putting this together. I also popped up the center of the tape as well, since I did not have that adhered into place before I started adding my foam. Again, I did die cut the hello out of coral and white cardstock, and then I kind of offset those to be layered just so it can break up some of the colors in the background. I wanted that to have that white shadow there. I also ended up adding foam to the back of the hello. Once I was playing around with placement, I thought it would be a little too flat and flush to the card panel. So I did cut some slits of my foam and put that behind that hello and put the sentiment into place. Again, this is an A2 card front, so once that was complete, I decided that it needed a little sparkle. So I grabbed the Spellbinders Color Essential Gems in the Color Mix package. So it has a clear kind of gem and then like a regular AB rhinestone, but I used the clear looking gems and I added those to those corners of the mixtape. There is a die where you can put the little pieces on the end, but I just decided to add a little bling and a little interest, and I put those gems all over on the corners of my mixtapes. Once that was complete, my card was complete, and this is what it looks like. I hope you have enjoyed this tutorial. I love the pop of color that this card has and how beautifully they work together. So if you are interested in any of these products, please click in the description box below and check out what Hero Arts as well as the Spellbinders ColorWheel cardstocks has to offer. That is all that I have today, guys. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day.